Hi, my name is Marina Hutchins. I am a PhD student in the Saltz lab at Rice University. Today, I'll be talking to you about a project I've been working on investigating the feedbacks between production and use of social information. The social environment is composed of conspecifics that communicate information with each other through the exchange of signals. However, communication isn't restricted just to pairwise interactions. Social behaviors such as aggression and mating often occur within a larger social context than just the two individuals that are engaged in an interaction. The signaling behaviors that are then produced as a result of two interacting individuals are also available to any other individual that's within the range of signal transmission. So these social behaviors we typically study in the context of dyadic interactions can be viewed instead as part of a communication network that's composed of signalers, receivers, and eavesdroppers. These observant bystanders are conspecifics that are able to extract information that's produced from social signaling behaviors. Intercepting the signaling behaviors of others is a form of social information use. Using socially produced information can benefit individuals because they can become better informed about the individuals within their social networks by watching the experiences of others, rather than wasting resources to sample the information themselves. In addition to collecting and using social information, eavesdroppers may also be influencing the social interactions of others due to their presence, in a phenomenon that's deemed the audience effect. The audience effect impacts the production of social information, as the presence, behaviors, and genotype of the eavesdropper can then influence the social behaviors of the signaling pair. Therefore, eavesdroppers are simultaneously influencing the interactions of others through the audience effect, as well as being influenced by the signals that they intercept through eavesdropping. Importantly, these two phenomena are not isolated events. Although they're often studied irrespective of each other, together they generate this feedback loop where the behavior of one individual can influence the response of another and vice versa. I've conducted a series of behavioral experiments that provides empirical data that's testing the union of these two phenomena under the framework of social information. The experiment I'll be sharing with you all today is one to specifically test if and how signals from aggressive interactions can be used as a form of social information. So this brings me to my research questions. My first question is, how does the presence, sex, and genotype of an eavesdropper influence the production of social signals? And my second question is, how do individuals then use social information to make decisions on how to navigate their social environment? I'll now introduce my well-known study system, Drosophila melanogaster. There's several reasons why fruit flies make a great study system to answer these questions. The first is that fruit flies form social groups on their food sources, which may be stable over a number of days. Many social interaction occur on these food sources in the presence of many observing conspecifics. Secondly, the aggressive behaviors that male flies perform have been well characterized, making flies a great system for looking at aggression. And lastly, it's already been shown that Drosophila melanogaster possess the cognitive capabilities that are required for social information use. So for my experimental design, I engineered an arena that allowed an eavesdropper fly to first observe an aggressive contest between two male demonstrator flies. So the pipette tip on top of the arena housed the eavesdropper fly for the first half of the experiment. And for 30 minutes, they watched the aggressive contest between two male demonstrator flies that were placed inside of the Petri dish arena. I recorded 5 different measures of aggressive behaviors that took place during this contest. Then for the second half of the experiment, I was able to easily remove the pipette tip and add the eavesdropper fly into the arena so that they were able to interact directly with the dueling individuals they had just observed. I conducted 3 different experimental treatments. So at the top of this slide is a cartoon mock-up of the arena where the smaller circle represents the pipette tip, the larger circle represents the Petri dish arena. In the female eavesdropper treatment shown here, for the first half of the experiment, the female fly was able to observe the 2 demonstrator males, dusted orange and yellow, and this allowed us to assess how the presence of the female influenced the production of social information in the demonstrator males. After 30 minutes, the female fly was then inserted into the arena and allowed to interact with the 2 males directly. I recorded courting behaviors and mate choice to then investigate how the female used the socially produced information to make mating decisions. The same experimental procedure was done for the male eavesdropper treatment. So after the 30-minute observation, the male was allowed to interact directly with the 2 demonstrator males, and I continued to record aggressive interactions between all 3 males to identify who the eavesdropper chose to direct most of their aggressive behavior towards. My final treatment was one where there was no eavesdropper present. So in the first half of the experiment, the demonstrator males fought without an audience. And for the second half of the experiment, I would add to the arena a fly that didn't have the chance to collect social information before interacting with the two demonstrator males. And for each of these experimental treatment, I used 3 different genotypes of eavesdropper flies. So to answer our first question about how eavesdropper identity and presence influence social information production, we constructed a generalized linear mixed model to predict differences in aggression of the demonstrator males across the 3 experimental treatments. So our model showed that there were significant differences in total aggression, depending on if there is a male, female, or no eavesdropper present. The graph shown here is a box plot with the 3 different treatments on the x-axis and average total aggression, which was the sum of the demonstrator males' aggressive signaling behaviors on the y-axis. The red dots on the box plot simply represent the mean for each of those 3 treatments. So specifically, we see that the presence of a male suppresses aggression in the demonstrator males. So the lowered aggression levels from demonstrator males caused as a result of the male eavesdropper then alters the social information that's available to the eavesdropper. Specifically, there's less of it available. So as a result, male eavesdroppers may not make the most adaptive decisions regarding who to direct their aggression towards, since the demonstrator males were deceptive about their own aggressiveness and dominance. This early set of results emphasizes the importance of examining both the production and use of social information, as the integration of information acquisition and use into animal communication can help us to better understand the mechanisms through which animals make decisions on how to navigate their social environment. So the benefit of my experimental design is that I have this data available and I'll be able to test this directly in the data analysis of the second half of my experiment by assessing if the male eavesdropper did indeed attack the demonstrator flies less as a result of their decreased aggression. So my big takeaway from the first half of the experiment is that we see the presence and the sex of the eavesdropper, but not their genotype, influences the production of social information. So this is important because it's likely that the presence and identity of eavesdroppers have shaped the evolution of animal communication and social information use. So to continue to study the evolution of signals and tactics, as well as to continue to form relevant behavior models, we must continue to explicitly consider the context of the social environment. And like I mentioned, data analysis is currently underway for the second half of my experiment. I'm happy to discuss preliminary results that I have in the Q&A session. Thanks so much for listening.